Hello, friends. Just going to finish where we left off in the last part of our discussion on urbanization and immigration and reform movements and so on and so forth. So, um, because of the settlement homes, which we talked about, um, that were set up helping people in social reform. This brings up the concept of social gospel, which is the importance of applying Christian principles to social problems. Walter Rausenbusch was a Baptist minister from New York who really helped to lead this movement. Families in urban society, essentially living in the city and in such conditions, really put stress on parents and their children. Essentially, they were isolated from extended family and didn't have their village support. Um, Extended family was something that was still important during this time period, and those that packed up and went to the cities didn't bring their extended family with them. So they were kind of on their own, and in most cases, for the first time. As a result, divorce rates go up, and we see family size decrease. Voting rights for women is something that also comes up, obviously, during this time period. The march continues. We talked about this in our previous period, but we're going to see NAWSA, which is the National American Women's Suffrage Association, grow and bloom during this time period, which is led by Elizabeth Cady Stanton as well as Susan B. Anthony. Another women's cause that's going to grow during this time period is the temperance movement, which was the Women's Christian Temperance Union, which called for total abstinence of alcohol, meaning that they thought that alcohol was one of the evils of society, and this is a reason why family size is going down, and men were leaving their women, their wives and their families because of drinking, and they thought that if they could just put an end to drinking in general, stuff like this wouldn't happen anymore. Also, urban reforms in the sense of looking to end corruption of city governments and try to rid cities of this kind of corruption. And although this is a large task in some countries, in some cities, these reform movements had some teeth and really got some work done. Also, during this time period, we're going to see intellectual and cultural movements. So, one thing that's kind of new on the scene is public schools. So, now new compulsory education laws were requiring students to attend school on a daily basis. This increased the number of students that were enrolled. Literacy, as a result, literacy rates rose to 80%. To 90% of the population by 1900. We're also going to see kindergarten start, which is mandatory schooling for smaller people. And we know now that that's pretty essential to growth, socialization, and education of young folks. Public high schools start to, oh, sorry, my crazy dog is going nuts. Say hi, Mags. Say hi. Mwah. Thank you. We see public high schools start to grow, which of course gives access to all people in society, regardless of class, to go to school. And they start to be paid for by your taxes, which is something that still happens today. They also become comprehensive and provide vocational and citizenship education for our changing urban society. Higher education is something that's also growing during this time period. We've talked extensively about land grants brought to you by state and federal government in colleges to start and open colleges. Also, money from wealthy philanthropists. We've talked about Andrew Carnegie and Rockefeller and people like that helping by setting aside money to open schools and fund schools. And then we're also going to see something brand new to the scene is find the founding of women colleges. One in particular is Smith. We have several proud WA alumni who are now Smithies, and I'm very proud of that. Curriculum greatly changes, and now they're starting to introduce electives. So now you're going to learn languages and modern sciences, social sciences like psychology, sociology, anthropology, and poli-sci. Can you stop? Literature and arts is also Maggie. Stop. Cancel that. Sorry. What the heck? Literature and arts is also going to grow during this time period. The new concept or the theory of realism, which is essentially looking at art through a real lens and depicting life how it actually was. And also naturalism, which focused on how emotions and experience shaped human experience. Stop it! Sorry, folks, my dog's being absolutely nuts. Naturalism focused on how emotions and experience shaped human experience. And we're going to see a lot of painting done in both of these new styles. So, realism also in architecture, which is going to become more organic in harmony with its surroundings. Music. By the 1900s, musical performances are in high demand. Jazz comes onto the scene with Jelly Roll Morton, who is pretty much known as the godfather of jazz. Ragtime and the blues also become popular because they kind of reflect what life was like for some of the people, especially those living in these inner city situations during this time period. Also, looking at popular culture, we're going to see mass media really come into play with popular press. Mass circulation of newspapers are filled with sensational stories. We call this yellow journalism, and they're going to look at things like, oh, I'm moving rooms, sorry. Okay. They're going to look at things like crimes and disasters and almost make them popular and fun to read about. And this will increase their circulation and get the people excited about things that are going on in the country, in their communities, in their cities. They use yellow journalism, which is something that is on your vocab list for this particular period, in which maybe they're not telling you 100% truth, but they're just trying to sell the stories and make things sensational. They're also going to report on political and economic corruption. And probably the two big head honchos or the big cheeses of mass popular press and mass media at this time are Joseph Pulitzer and William Randolph Hearst, who both own popular New York City newspapers, and they both fight for circulation and distribution. You want to watch a good movie about this? You can watch Newsies, which is one of my favorite old-time Disney movies. It's a musical. It's actually based on a true story. So now people have some money in their pocket, and because labor unions have made some adjustments and we have an 8-hour workday and a little bit safer environments to work in, people have a little bit more free time. So this is an important time in our history where people are going to actually have time to do stuff that they like. So amusements and leisure time come into play. People actually can go out and do something on a Sunday or a Saturday night or maybe even a Friday evening. And this is due mostly because of one, reduction of hours that people are working, improved transportation, specifically in cities. Mass transit provides opportunity for you to get from point A to B cheaply, safely, get to someplace and get home from someplace, which you might not have been able to do because a lot of people living in the inner cities don't own cars. Promotional billboards and advertising. So again, we're producing media, entertainment for the masses. So they're going to make things more exciting and enticing for the masses in doing so. Also, the decline of Puritan or Victorian values that discourage wasting time and doing things that might be considered immoral. Most popular form of recreation at this time period, of course, is drinking, which is maybe why the Temperance League was looking to stamp that out of society. However, theaters, the circus, movies, all of these also become popular at this time period. Central Park is built during this time period, which allows space literally in the middle of a jungle for people to recreate, which is awesome. And Central Park should be something on your bucket list if you've never been. Spectator sports also become a big deal during this time period and actually originate in the late 19th century. Boxing, pugilism is one of the original spectator sports, watching two guys beat each other up with their fists. proved great entertainment for people during this time period. Baseball, basketball, and football, which was mostly a college sport at the time. These other three sports were considered professional. So that pretty much sums up this unit. When I see you next, we'll go a little bit more into depth about the growth of cities in American culture. I hope you all have an awesome weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good night. Bye-bye.